Welcome to the GPLama YouTube channel and do a quick look at the new JetBlack 4-way rocker plate. There's a few unique features of this rocker that I do like. One was noted before I even had it unboxed. Another impressed me as I stepped onto the bike on this rocker plate. Now coming up in this video, I'll also answer the question that has been asked about pairing multiple steering and gearing controllers to Zwift. In this instant, a smart steering block, a set of plate controllers, and the Zwift click. So does pairing all of these things at once work? We'll get into that later in the video. But firstly, rocker plates. Why do people use them? The number one reason is comfort. Riding bikes indoors that don't move can be extremely uncomfortable for some people. I've caught it riding a brick fence with a set of handlebars and a saddle in referring to some other indoor bikes. Now, for a lot of us, it's something we've adapted to, but some indoor riders swear by having that additional movement to their indoor setup. Now, although I'm not a regular user of rocker plates, I do respect they allow a lot of people to ride for longer and more often indoors, which is great if you're snowed in, if it's pouring rain, maybe it's dark out once you get the kids to bed and it's time to train. Now, I hesitate to say they provide more realism because that's never my experience with any rocker plate. And kudos to JetBlack for keeping it real in the description of this 4-way rocker on their website too. They state that the slight movements of the rocker plate relieves pressure points on the sit bones, wrists and shoulders, enabling you to ride more comfortably for longer. As I have the website pulled up right here, let's talk about pricing and availability. So these are available in Australia only for now, early 2025 for all other markets. The price of this rocker is $499.99 Aussie dollars, and as a reference, that's $325 US with the direct currency conversion. Now to the first thing that impressed me with this rocker plate before even unboxing, and that's the size of the box, coming in at 106 by 77 by 23 and weighing just under 28 kilos. It's definitely not the monster box we've seen the Saris MP1 and other rocker plates ship in. It's also something your local courier would be happy to transport too. Other single piece rockers I've had over the years have been challenging for couriers and also myself taking them into the Llama lab. But this does mean there is some assembly required. So the box comes with three main components, the rear rocker, the middle step and the front sliding plate, as well as a pump to inflate the balls that you'll see just in a moment on the rear rocker, and a number of straps to hold your trainer down securely to the unit. There they are in the box. All right, let's get this out. And you can see the side-to-side forward and back motion right there. And I'll just line those balls up so I can inflate them to my preferred squishiness, which also affects the fore and aft dampening too. I'll show you more about that when we get it on the bike in the Llama Lab. But setup was pretty straightforward. Oh, it also comes with a spirit level too, as you just saw there. All right, everything else unboxed. And here's the front, fore and aft. I'm also told the versions of these rocker plates that will ship to everyone will not require any assembly of the center step, which I'm doing right here. Okay, with everything looking good out of the box and half configured, let's get the full configuration done in a Llama Lab with the three main components all joined together. Now you'll see on the top of every surface is a non-slip coating or some rubber matting, so very handy to have when you've got cleats on, not slipping around. Okay, both parts are still moving independently until you put that join bracket on there. And it's job done for the rocker plate. I thought it was going to be a little bit more difficult to line up, but it slid in place quite well. Okay, trainer installation time. It's the JetBlack Victory. And securing down with 4 straps. Some rocker plates are troublesome in securing down. They'll either have a U-bolt bracket or it's difficult to get the straps threaded through. This, very easy to thread them through and get the trainer securely in place. But while I'm here, I'll thread the power cable through there as well, so that's not going anywhere. Okay, rocker plate done, trainer installed, and the Zwift Ride. To answer the question, is the Zwift Ride compatible with rocker plates? Yeah, absolutely. Get that lined up, secure it in, chain on, and we are good to go. Fore and aft, side to side. Everything's working as expected. Just wasn't quite level though. So out with the spirit level that was provided in the box. Small amount of air let out from the right-hand side. Okay, one final check. Looks good. Okay, wiggle, wiggle, forward, back. Now it's time to ride. Before discussing the ride experience in depth, here's what I was referring to in the intro. The second thing that impressed me, and it's the stability of that center step. Doesn't do this when you try and stand on the bike, which is 10 centimeters higher than it would be if it was on flat ground. So depending on your leg length and how you mount the bike, that stability of the center step and the grip on top of it is going to be a welcome addition for some riders. All right, so side to side. Here it is fully kitted up, forward and back. Now, we don't have a lot of movement there. It's just a few inches. But one thing that was really, really noticeable was it was dampened. And by that, I mean it didn't continue to swing back and forward and back and forward and back and forward like a child's swing or a pendulum of sorts, like a lot of other rocker plates, which really takes away that I'm riding a bike feeling. With the balls controlling the side-to-side motion and the fore and aft, you do have the control of how much it goes in all directions. So up out of the saddle here. It does push forward and back, but when I take a seat, it doesn't bounce around forward and back. It takes about a second or so for it to return to a more stable state. And just those micro movements with every pedal stroke. A little further up the road, a sub-maximal sprint, just to check the trainer was locked on tight to the top plate, and also to make sure the rocker plate itself as a whole isn't going to move around in a maximal sprint, but all is looking well. Some more out of the saddle efforts later on over this bridge, around 400 watts. And there's none of that slop side to side that I've had in the past with other rockers. Now, they are mostly customizable, so that slop is something that you can take out, but not a lot of tweaks required for this, which was good. Before hitting the volcano climb, I thought it would be best to switch to a lighter bike there in person, for no other reason than to try a bike with steering and a steering block on this rocker plate. So it was off with the Zwift Ride, on with the Giant TCR, and the Zwift Cog version 2.0, meaning I can switch bikes pretty quickly, pretty easily, both 142 through axle. Now I did need to move the trainer forward just a little bit, as the wheelbase didn't allow that wheel to sit there by itself. But in the end, it didn't really matter because I put the smart turn block underneath that front wheel anyway, and that's done right there. And then with the play controllers, the click controller, I had everything paired there. So the pairing screen on Zwift was quite busy. I had the Zwift click, I had the Zwift play controller left, Zwift play controller right, and the smart steer block, which is located down there. Click and connected. And that's a very, very busy control screen, but it all works. So that's the play controllers, left and right, the click and the smart steer. And I can confirm steering with both the play controllers and the smart steer actually works. Now here's me figuring out that I have a different set of pedals on this bike. So it was a shoe swap too, over to, these are Shimano SPD SLs. It's the Asioma hack that I've done with those pedals on this bike. And off we go. We're clipped in. And steer, that works. Virtual gear changes work. And it's to the top of the volcano to get the rest of this climb done. Let's go. Alrighty, last few hundred meters and a hard push to the end out of the saddle. Now I will have to investigate where that squeak is coming from. It sounds like there's a chook being tortured under the front wheel. And I think it is the front wheel on that riser block. I might need to put a little bit more pressure in the front wheel to stop that, the chook sounding like it's being murdered by the front wheel. All right, over the top and climb done. Okay, down the bottom of the hill and rolling into the start-finish line for this route. One last full maximal sprint. Now, my snap out of the saddle there for that maximal sprint threw the rocker blade back and forward a lot more than my sub-maximal sprint, as to be expected, but it didn't continue to move back and forward like a child swing, as I've mentioned previously. It quickly returned to a more stable state, and allow me to just continue riding without having to fight those extremely unnatural movements of a bike rocking forward and back. Okay, so there we are, my take on the JetBlack 4-way rocker. I think if I had a more permanent indoor setup, it'd be something that I would continue to use. However, the flow of trainers and setups through the Llama Lab makes it difficult to use it on every ride, but that's quite a unique problem that I have here. Now back to the rocker itself, not having that endless swing was something that I really liked about this rocker in particular, and that step was a nice addition in getting onto the bike, which was 10 centimeters higher than having it on flat ground. Now there are a lot of ways to add movement to an indoor trainer. A popular budget method has been what I call the Wimbledon, using tennis balls, as we've seen a lot of people post recently on Reddit. Now although cheap, the difference is the range of motion on those is limited to just angles only. There's no fore and aft. So all up, my take on this is that I think JetBlack have done a pretty good job with this solution and an even better job with the price, making indoor setups a little bit more accessible at a time we see a lot of prices skyrocketing. So even if you're not in the market for a rocker or even this rocker, kudos to JetBlack for bringing this one to market. Oh, and check out their Victory too. That goes pretty well for an indoor trainer. All right, with that, we'll leave it there for today. If you've enjoyed this one or found it interesting, please hit that like button, hit subscribe to be across more videos on this channel, and we'll see you soon.